Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to the Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. This is episode 61. Houston, we have a problem. I hope you know what's that. I hope you know enough history that what that's a reference to. But in case you don't, it is a reference to the space mission Apollo 11 that got into some trouble while they were orbiting the moon. And almost didn't make it back alive. So I'll just refer you to the more than excellent movie with Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, and Kevin Bacon. So, why is that relevant today? I'll tell you. I'll tell you why. Because the world is talking to us at so much. Like I just told the Voxer Daily group that having a look at things today with completely different eyes, I believe it's safe to say I've been missing about 70 to 7 at least 70% of all the information that's available around me all the time. Asking lots and lots of questions, having lots and lots of problems, figuring things out, knowing what to do, hearing the intuition for me. It's easy for me to hear the intuition for other people. I can do that in my sleep, no problem. But hearing it for myself is a little bit trickier. So, yesterday, or whenever I did the last podcast, I was saying that, the message I'm getting is we weren't meant to go through this life without having these communications. We've been cut off from them, and now we're awakening worldwide. And that's nothing new. Like, we all know that some intense stuff has been happening since, for me, it was the end of 2011 when I left full-time government job and went to a part-time, three-quarter time sex assault response team coordinator job. I knew it when I was moving from one to the other. I knew that it had a greater significance than just a job change. I just didn't know then how much it meant. Sorry for the background noise. Sitting in the carpool lane. There's got to be a song in that. Sitting in the carpool lane. Come on, you guys. Come up with a tune. All right. So that's been a real shock to me that it's not that some people can hear these communications and some can't. It's that some have been either by desire or circumstance kind of kicked into being able to hear these communications. And certainly, as I said, I've been resisting it for a long time, a long time, maybe my whole life. I don't know. Never, like I've said, never been a fan of it. And that's been like walking through life without my glasses, which I still don't have. So the Apollo 11 movie popped in my mind in my meditations this morning. My intention going through getting clients simply and soulfully with Steph Lagana was to add something to my spiritual daily practice, which I have, and it's very set and it's sacred and all the things, but adding something different to it, which is an intentional asking of Team Invisible, what's up, y'all? What's going on? What do I need to know? What do I need to know today? So today was the Apollo 11 scene where Tom Hanks, and God, I feel terrible that I can remember the actors' names, but not the astronauts' names. How sad is that? Anyway, so the astronaut said to Houston, these are iconic words, Houston, we have a problem. They had a problem, a big one, and they needed to ground control, mission control, to talk to them to help them through it. We could also refer to the old classic song, Major Tom, ground control to Major Tom, right? So these astronauts are in trouble in the song and in the movie and in the real life. Apollo 11 was not just a movie, it was a real thing. Um, so, but they couldn't see Mission Control. They couldn't walk over across the space parking lot and walk into Mission Control and say, "Hey, there's a problem with our things. Our things are going wrong here." Right? They could only hear them. And at one point, or maybe more than one point in the Apollo 11, or any one that's orbiting the moon, when you're on the dark side of the moon, you can't receive radio transmissions. You can't receive and excuse me if I'm screwing up the details, because the details of it don't matter. The feeling of it is what matters to me. But they couldn't, they knew that they were approaching radio silence and they weren't going to be able to hear Mission Control. So they prepared accordingly and they kept themselves busy doing what they could do, what the instructions they'd been given, until they came back around and were able to transmit signals back and forth, communication signals back and forth. It's no different. I've just been given like analogy after analogy to help me, because I've been saying, help me get comfortable with this, because I'm not comfortable with it. And I'm also learned enough or experienced enough or just flat old enough to know when something's happening to me that I need to just get on board with and shut the fuck up about. Be like, okay, this is happening. Okay, I can't stop it. All right, I'm done fighting. Help me now make the transition. So analogy. And that was a really good one. I really liked that one because I love space stuff. I used to want to be an astronaut. I've kept track of that stuff. I hope that technology comes along fast enough that I get to go to space before this body kicks the bucket, as I really want to. I'm thinking at the rate things are going, there'll probably be a hotel in orbit soon enough that I'll be able to get up there and look back on our round Earth, by the way, which is not flat. Lunatics. Okay, so think about that, right? If they had said, well, we can't see them, we can hear them, but since we can't see them, then it's not real. It's just voices from beyond, and we're not going to listen. I mean, they would have died, right? Like, they had to coordinate with Mission Control to problem solve, and it was hard, right? If you watch the movie, if you've seen the movie, it was hard. It was touch and go. They really nearly died. They very easily could have just been up there till they ran out of oxygen and died. So it was very important that they be uber creative and willing to try every possible scenario, whether it made sense or not. They had like these if this then that flow charts, or sequences. Do this, then if this happens, do that. But if this happens, do this instead. These chains of directions. Well, if they didn't work, they had to do it again and again and again, adjusting and tweaking and trusting in their knowledge, trusting in the knowledge being transmitted in communication with them from Mission Control, from the ground, carried on invisible waves to their ear bones, where they could hear it and try it and stay focused. And that's the message that I know. If you're listening to this podcast, you're somewhere on the continuum of waking up and going, oh, hey, wait a minute. The world is talking to me all the time. And it's not magic in the terms of it's something out of your control. I feel kind of more comfortable with the word mystery, like capital M mystery. Like our little pea brains don't really understand how it works, but the bigger part of us really knows that it's time to pick up the phone. It's time for us to say, Houston, we have a problem, and be willing to try whatever solution is given to us. Be willing to take it on and tweak it and be creative and go, how about this? How about that? Oh my gosh, it looks like we're walking the opposite direction from a solution, but let's keep walking. And sure enough, circle back and you end up where you need to be. But if you had gone with logic, you'd be lost in the desert. So I would love for you to just try that on, to just say, I don't know what the hell Michelle is talking about. She might have finally, the cheese might have finally just slipped all the way off her cracker. Like she might be done gone nuts. Like this might be the end of it. I don't know, but I would love for you to keep an open mind and try that on in the morning or even right now or whenever you're listening to this, to say, I'm willing to consider that the world might be communicating with me, that things that I can't see with my physical eyes, energies, might be transmitting to me a message that I just have not been able to hear, not been willing to hear, not been capable of hearing, right? It's a growth process. So I've been tracking these things, and it's not that this is the same thing that happens to meditators, right? We start something new and the world changes and our eyeballs change in what we can see and perceive, and we think that those things are just appearing. They've always been there. We just haven't seen them. These communications have always been, and I suppose always will be there, but we haven't had our radio tuned to the right, channel. If you want to think in terms of a cell phone tower, we've been trying to talk on a Verizon signal with an AT&T phone, right? We're just like out of sync. It's not that the signal's not there. It's there. We've been out of sync with it, and now we're being asked to sync up. From a big picture view, why do you think veganism is so popular right now? In the past, vegans were like so aggressive. Like every vegan I ever knew, I was like, I don't care if it is good for me, because you're being such a bitch about it, I'm not gonna give up. Like it would trigger that oppositional defiant disorder in me, and I would be like, no, just because you're being an asshole, I'm not going to do it. But I've shared with lots of people that I've given up meat. I don't know, for now I try not to put hard and fast rules on myself, because #rebel, #unruly. For now, since the end of August, I haven't been eating meat and very, very little animal products at all. And I just have to wonder, when I look at trends around the world, it's rising fast and furious. But isn't it interesting that a lot of meat eating keeps our vibration turned down? It keeps the volume down. Lots of dairy products have a very sedative quality. That's science, baby. That's not me making stuff up. I read an article not too long ago that dairy products trigger or impact the same centers in the brain that opium impacts. No wonder we don't want to give up our cheese. Cheese is our sedative, right? Sugar's a sedative. Alcohol's a sedative. Pot's a sedative. Meat is a sedative. It's lower energy. Not as lower energy, I'm now in the high energy, so screw you. But it's just there's frequencies. Some are low and slow, some are high and fast. It's not good or bad. It's just numbers. Sensations, experiences, okay? So it occurred to me, like, why is everybody all of a sudden giving up meat? Partly it's, the planet is asking for it, but we're asking for it as a species too, because we need to hear some stuff that's being shouted at us and we're missing it. So when I started tracking and made this commitment to follow her directions, even if it made me uncomfortable, the same way I have with every teacher agreed to follow their directions, even if it made me uncomfortable, because I know that I don't know. I know I'm an idiot. I know I can't see my own shit. That's why we sign up for classes. So anyway, making the commitment to be like, okay, I'm willing to talk to Team Invisible. I'm asking for help in this transition. And all of a sudden, it's like the world is a noisy, noisy place. I don't know how we ever experience being alone, because we're not. We are surrounded by the mystery. We're surrounded by things our logical mind don't have a fucking clue about. But our soul and our body is like, yes, we have reestablished contact with mission control. Now we can get the directions. Now we can try some more if this, then that's, in our maneuvers. Now we have some concrete directions to follow. And what do those concrete directions to follow look like? I'll tell you what they've looked like just for today. And it's not even, what is it, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me. Eastern time, sitting in the carpool lane. Sounds like a country song, doesn't it? Sitting in the carpool lane. Whatever. So this morning, I go to leave my house. I live in the woods. Go to leave my house, I hear leaves crunching. Well, when you live in the woods by yourself, you pay attention to leaves crunching. Because it's a good idea to know what's crunching those leaves. Okay, so I just stop on my porch and I listen. Like every part of my body is like, okay, where is it? It's off to my left. Off the left of my porch is like a ridge, like an incline covered in trees, and then there's a road, and then that goes up very steeply the ridge on the other side of our property. It's like a rectangle, and the road cuts right through the middle of everybody's property out there. So I stop. There's a deer. No shit. I haven't seen deer in months, and I've never seen them in the daytime on my property. I've seen them, over by my neighbor. But so this deer is moving through just slowly, picking her way across, walks right past me within 50, 60 feet, doesn't see me. I'm super still. And I'm struck by the mystery of the timing of me walking out the door, of her not hearing me or seeing me when we're that close. That's highly unusual. So I just soaked in that deer energy, just soaking it in, and was like blown open with love. And she walks right past me, walks further up. I can see her still moving on the road. She gets quite a distance away, and all of a sudden she probably felt me watching her. She noticed me noticing her, and she stopped, turned around, and looked at me right through a holly tree. The holly tree is significant for me. The deer is significant for me. The timing was not lost on me. And she eye contact with me, and I could barely see her because I don't have my fucking glasses. But I could feel her looking at me, and it was just one of those magic moments, right? She watched me for about 10 seconds, and then I had to shift, and she, popped her tail up and went bounding down the road, boing, boing. And they're so beautiful. And then up the ridge. Didn't see her again. Okay? Write that down in my little log. Make a note of it. Because that's a big deal. So, next thing is, I get in the car. I don't have enough gas. But I think, you know what? I'm going to risk it. I'm going to share all this, boring, seemingly maybe boring details so that you can start to get a practice with how are the messages showing up for you. What I'm noticing is that when I just relax and go when I just go, not try to anticipate a signal to go, but to just go, cool stuff happens. So get in the car. I know I don't have enough gas. But I'm thinking, well, I could probably make it to Snellville before I have to stop. But then the gas is going down, and I notice my eyes get drawn to an exit where I know is a QT station. I don't know why, but QT gas stations are my favorite. They're bright, they're pretty, they're clean, and they have great iced tea. So my gauge is saying that there's enough gas in there for me to get where I want to go. But I noticed that my eyes went to the exit where I know there's a QT station. And I was like, I don't know. It still says I have 60 miles and it's only 40 or whatever. I think I'm just going to push it. Then I get closer to Atlanta and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It still says I have enough. Like the gauge says I have enough. The little number on the, on the dashboard says I still have enough. But I don't know. And then I forget about it. And then right as I'm about to pass an exit where I know another QT station is, my thing zeroes out. It went from 30 to nothing. I hope you don't know, because I hope you're not in the habit of letting yourself get low on gas. I used to be really bad about it. I haven't been so bad lately, but it was interesting today. So then it zeroes out and I was like, I would never have made it. I would have run out of gas on an 8-lane highway and it would have been horrible. I wouldn't have died, but it would have been a horrible experience and it would have been hard on everybody. And so it was interesting, like my eyes went to the exit. I ignored it. Well, I chose not to. I didn't ignore it. I noticed. And then, I'm about to pass that exit. My eyes just shoot over to that exit and I was like, I better go. But my number still said okay. It wasn't until I got off the exit I was like, oh, hell no. I would have been out of gas before I got anywhere near the station I was planning to. Next interesting thing. So I get gas. Normally, I break the law, and as I'm getting gas, I run inside and get some tea, go to the bathroom, whatever. Technically, it's illegal. Did you know that? It's illegal to leave your car when you're pumping gas and go inside. Or it was in Colorado. I don't know if it is here. Anyway, it's not a good idea. But I always do it because I'm naughty like that. But today I didn't. I was like, whatever. I'll just stand. I've got plenty of time. Fill up the car, drive over, pull in. There's a African American man sitting on the sidewalk up against the building with his bicycle. He doesn't look great. He doesn't look healthy. He's in, pretty bad shape. I don't know if he's homeless or not, but that's the look he had. Shabby clothes. Didn't look like he was feeling in optimum health, sitting up against the wall. Normally, I walk right past people like that. It's I'll donate to organizations that are taking care of people like that, but I can't even remember the last time I gave anybody like that money. It's highly unusual for me. I'm not proud of it, but I get a little nervous. I've had some bad experiences. And I tend to just scurry on by and not make eye contact. But I was feeling so different today, and I have been feeling so different for days now, that I looked at him and I was like, I had the impulse, give him money. And I didn't argue with it. I only had $5 cash. And I was like, okay, well, I need to get something to drink, and I've got enough. I can give him $3 and still be sure that I have enough. And it was like, cool. So I get out, look at him. He starts to talk to me. I go over. This is so out of character for me. I go over and squat down next to him and just have a conversation. We just start talking about Subarus, and I'm feeling like I don't even recognize myself, and 100% total in love. Like love, in love with life, totally comfortable having a conversation with this guy, making eye contact. We're just chit-chatting, and I was like, hey, do you need some money? And he's like, yeah, if it doesn't bother you. And I was like, no, it doesn't bother me today. Here's $3. I got to get something to drink. But whatever change I have left, I'll give you when I come back out. And he was appreciative. He was like, thank you. I appreciate that. And we chit-chatted a little bit more. Probably about a 5-minute conversation, enough that when I stood up from being squatted like that, I had a little hitch in my get along trying to get in the store. So anyway, I just ran in, grabbed a thing of tea, came back out. He was gone. It was almost one of those feelings like, was he really there? Now, I was in there long enough that he could have taken that $3 and, gone off to do whatever he could do with whatever he'd accumulated for the day. So it's not like, oh, I was gone 30 seconds and I came back and he was gone. But it had a funny feel to it, right? And I was like, I don't even recognize myself today. Okay, so another impulse. Absolutely nuts. Okay, so then I get in the car and Metallica Enter Sandman is playing. I'm not a Metallica fan. Sorry. I know I grew up in the era. Just never been a fan of the staccato sound that they have. You know what I'm talking about, you Metallica people. Never been a fan much. So Enter Sandman's playing. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And that has significance because of the Sandman books by Neil Gaiman. The Sandman books, I heard they're making a movie out of it, but if you've never read any graphic novels and you want something that is incredibly deep and complex and rich and wonderful, pick up the Sandman series and start working your way through. But the Sandman series always gives me this feel of Neil Gaiman sees a world that we don't see, and he writes about it using ancient myth that's still relevant today, and he just weaves this field of alternate space. When you're reading his books, it's palpable. He's just such a storyteller and an energy weaver that you feel like you really are stepping into it, like let's just say, like maybe like an alternate universe or something. It's something indescribable. And so I hear that song and I was like, that's it. That's how I feel. Like my eyes are seeing the same world differently. Just like beginning meditators are like, I started meditating in my life is horrible. Everything's irritating. All these things are blowing up. I'm like, they always were that way. They always were that way. But you kept your eyesight so closed that you couldn't see the broken parts of your life. And now you're opening them and it feels like a shock to your system, but it's only a shock to your awareness, to your previous level of conscious awareness of your life. Now when you start meditating and you do it and you stick with it and you sit your butt down those 5 minutes in silence and experience that cumulative effect. I know I've been harping on this for you guys for years. It's like you are looking at a different world. You're not. A lot of people will use that as an excuse to quit meditating, but don't. It's piercing the veil. It's the scales falling from your eyes. It's all those old stories. It's the Sandman going through this world and that world and his, all the experiences, and like I can't even go into it. Just grab the series and read it. It's incredible. Read it on the surface level, but feel for what's being said underneath. Like take the micro view and the macro view. Those are multi-layered stories. I can't even remember the last time. I can't even remember actually the last time I had the radio on just the radio. But I didn't want to listen to the impeachment hearings. So I was kind of bouncing back and forth. I was listening to some of Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, grilling, and then flipping back and forth. So Enter the Sandman, very significant for me. And that's just, half a day. So know that if you're struggling, the struggle is okay. Like it's okay. It's okay that we've all been struggling. The image I got when I was leaving the daily meditation for my money Voxer people was the struggle that the butterfly goes through, the struggle of the chick coming out of the egg. Like we know that, right? It's such an old cliche, but it's it's still relevant because it is. You can't stop the struggle or you're never gonna get out. You're never gonna transform. You can't judge the struggle. Do you think the butterfly's like, what the fuck, man? I've been fighting and fighting this for hours. I'm exhausted. I don't I don't think that's what they're saying. But I think what we've lost is that struggle's okay. We don't have to judge it. If we're struggling and feeling like we're about to bust out of something, we're busting out of the sleep. We're busting out of being a zombie. I said a long time ago that I think the popularity of zombie movies was trying to get our attention that we are functioning that way. We're going through life like zombies, automatons, robotic, lost in the internet, just in another world, like stepping with our consciousness into cyberspace and completely losing track of the laundry. We haven't been doing a good job of straddling and the middle zone, the middle way, having both and all the things. And that, I think, is what's been happening to us for years. And now we are busting out. We're breaking free of the cocoon, free of the shell, free of the restrictions of need for tribal approval. There's a difference in being in a community because of a shared values versus being in a community because you're afraid if you're not, you're going to get kicked out and end up living under a bridge somewhere with a grocery bag or a grocery cart of all your belongings, completely insane and homeless, right? So we've been functioning for a long time, coming into community, into groups, out of survival fears. But when we wake up and recognize that those days are over, they're long over, and we can access all the resources individually if we just listen, if we really listen in a different way, if we listen for all the things that are being said that we have just not heard because we weren't connected to ground control. We were on the dark side of the moon. We couldn't hear it. Still being broadcast, but we couldn't hear it. Now we have a choice to make. Do we want to hear it? Do we want to relax and float on this different experience of energy, letting life carry us out the front door at the perfect time to see a deer? To go to a completely different gas station, one I've never been to before, and have a conversation with a homeless man that felt amazing? Do we want those kinds of precious moments all through the day? These little tiny bits of the mystery saying, hey, I'm here. Hey, you can maximize your experience of love right here. Hey, you can maximize the experience of abundance right here by keeping $2 for yourself and giving $3 to the guy. I got what I needed. I needed gasoline and a thing of iced tea. I have what I need, and I was able to give a little bit. And then get in the car and have another acknowledgement by that song being on. By getting it. Like, it's not about the song, it was the title that then triggered a whole nother remembrance. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't know. It's hard to find words for. I maybe should sit with it longer before I try to podcast about it. But I just want to say to you, I know a lot of you that follow me are just a few steps back. And so this is coming for you. It's coming for you. The world is coming for you, honey bunnies. I know you're going to start experiencing this, and I want to tell you it's okay. It's not scary. It's wonderful. It's not freaky and weird like a ghost story. Excuse me, like a ghost story. It's magical and wonderful to hear the little nudge. Hey, let's go now. Hey, you might want to stop at that gas station. No? Okay. You might want to stop at that gas station. Had I said, and had I run out of gas, no problem. I still would have got through it. Just would have been a little harder. Stopping the first time might have been the easiest. Stopping the second time was still easy. It had a little sprinkle of more magic in it. Nothing is wrong. You're not doing it wrong. You're not wrong. You're not broken. You've never been broken. Nobody ever taught us that when you hear those whispers in the wind, to really stop and listen. When your eyes go to something that's unusual or has to do with what you were just thinking about, pay attention. Come around from the dark side of the moon and start picking up the radio signals. There's so much information. It's shocking. It's delightful. It's a little like going to bed one night in one world, waking up in one that's completely different. And the most hilarious cosmic jokey thing is it's the same world. I'm just seeing it differently. I'm hearing the signals now because I'm willing to, and I'm willing to relax. And that's the other message. Relax, relax, relax. If you fight water, you gonna drown. When we're learning to swim, we have to learn to relax deeper and deeper and deeper. And when we do, we're easily carried through the energy. When we can relax in water, we're easily carried. We're 100% supported. And the message is our daily life can be like that, fully relaxed, fully supported, so relaxed that we can be carried on the current this way and that way, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, and we're not worried about it because we're enjoying moment to moment existence, extreme mindfulness. I started practicing extreme mindfulness when I went through a period of extreme suicidal ideation, which I've shared before. It's been a while. I was like, I can't trust myself. So I'm going to have to be extreme mindful moment to moment to moment. And I could not take my attention. I could not let my mind carry me any further than the present moment because it was dangerous. What a great skill to develop. Don't let yourself get that depressed that you have to develop it. But try extreme mindfulness because this moment, these little teeny moments is where the world is talking to us. But we've got to slow down and we've got to be willing to listen and we've got to turn the radio off. We've got to put down the cell phone. We have to connect to the world, connect to whatever tree you can find. They've been saying that. That's where Forest Reiki came from, out into the world. The initiation was, over a decade ago, but it came out into the world because it was like I had to. So I feel the same way now. Like this is happening to me. I feel like a weirdo, and I'm okay with that. But I'm going to put it out there for anybody else who might be experiencing the same thing or is about to start experiencing the same thing. I just want to say it's not scary at all. It's super cool. It's super wonderful. It's incredible, and it will directly challenge your ability to receive love and energy and money and to let go of the grip, let go of the grasping, to let go of thinking in any moment that you know what's going on, because we don't. We don't. We're just like Apollo 11. If we don't start listening to mission control, we're just drifting and we can end up dying without ever having these incredible experiences of this whole other realm of communications. I hope that makes sense. There's more. I mean, information is just pouring through. But I'll save that for the next podcast. And it has to do with flowing energy and hoarding energy and how that affects your body and your breath and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to launch into that because I've already been talking for a while, I think. Yeah, 40 minutes. All right, if you're still here, yay you, yay us. You can still get into Hearth and Home. And by the way, From Wounded to Wise starts in January, and registration officially opens on November 22nd. But women are already signing up. So, and that's very unusual too. So I have no idea if this will be the course that sells out. But if it's big. The energy supporting that course is huge. So if you have any interest in it, thatmichellewolf.com/9 centers, the number 9 and centers. And it'll say From Wounded to Wise on it. And you go have a look, have a listen. If your body says, ooh, yeah, if your eyes go to it, if you feel that, ooh, I want that, schedule an appointment and let's chat. The last day to sign up on that is Christmas Day, December 25th. All right. Thank you for being here, and I hope this is helpful. Love y'all so much. Think less, feel more. Talk to you later.